The scandal at Watergate.
President Richard Nixon was the president directly involved in the Watergate scandal. In the early morning of Saturday, July 17, 1972, 5 men were arrested after breaking into offices of the Democratic National Committee headquarters, located in the Watergate building in Washington, D.C. Although the FBI had already begun an investigation, the story remained small in the papers because of the 1972 election. In August of 1972, the Washington Post reported that a $25,000 check designated for creep actually went to pay for the break-in. Then a White House aide by the name of Alexander Butterfield testified that Nixon had a recording system installed to record conversations in the White House. Shortly after, Nixon, using executive privilege, appointed the new prosecutor, Leon Jaworski, to the case. Less than a year after, the committee issued a subpoena to Nixon to release the recordings of private conversations in the White House.
During the proceedings of Watergate, Nixon was requested twice to release the White House tape. He cited executive privileges both times. The case of the tapes then went to the Supreme Court, and in July of 1974, the Supreme Court ruled that President Nixon had to turn over the tapes. Several days later, the House Judiciary Committee charged Nixon with obstruction of justice, misusing federal agencies, and defying Congress. However, before they could vote on whether or not to impeach Nixon, the investigators found indisputable evidence of Nixon's involvement on the White House tapes. Thus, on August 9th of 1974, Nixon resigned the presidency.
Shortly after Nixon's resignation, on August the 9th of 1974, President Ford was sworn into office. Less than a month after taking oath, on September 8th of 1974, he granted a pardon to former President Nixon on the grounds that the trial could take almost a year to proceed, and that Nixon had already paid the ultimate price by giving up the highest elective office in the United States. Even though there wasn't much substantial evidence that directly linked Nixon to the scandal, many Americans asked if the pardon was justified. In order to dismiss these doubts, on October 17, 1974, Ford made a statement before the Subcommittee on Criminal Justice in order to justify his actions. This statement was later published for the people of the United States. In his statement, Ford focused on the growth of the U.S. and how this issue would only slow the U.S. down. Even though there was never a definite answer given about the righteousness of President Ford's pardon, many Americans today believe that it was well justified because Ford chose to no longer punish Nixon and to focus on the growing nation rather than one man's foolish mistakes.